think this would be the biggest fully scaled I've ever caught.
That's a beast. So take. Go on. Yes! Get in there! Yes! Welcome to the latest carp fix session film. You're joining me at my local Syndicate, a historic Essex venue famed for its reed beds, famed for its gravel bars and famed for its drop-tailed mirrors. And these bars are extremely narrow, but there is always the concern about the rudd too. I know this area always holds carp, known to the locals, to the regulars, called no man's land out there. And underneath that white stick there's two sunken boats that are sort of anchored out there from the olden days. Due to the rudd population, I'm putting a lot of bait out to make sure that I'm hoping that there'll still be some bait left no matter how many rudd come onto the spot. I'm going to fish all 3 rods at the same range, each on individual bars, but I'm focusing the bait in around the middle one.
Sometimes I think when the birds are diving on you like that, it does create a bit of competition for the fish.
With the strength to carry on.
Sling. Don't panic. Looks like a good fish that. Steady. Just steady. Yes! Cell mountain.
For all the talk of spring being the best time of year to catch carp, it is a good time, and I would never argue that. Particularly May is one of the very best months of the year to go fishing. You know, they're at their peak weights, everything's lush, you know, and the lake bed can be quite barren, it can be quite straightforward fishing. However, that said, I do feel that the big autumn feed up that people talk about is sort of misunderstood. People seem to think of the big autumn feed up as sort of October and November, whereas for me I think a lot of the heavy feeding takes place sort of late August and September when the water is still quite warm. I feel that once you're into October and the water's cooling, the weeds dying off, quite often the fish switch on to naturals and can be a bit trickier. You know, the bites are definitely tapering off on a lot of venues come October. And again, that said, like if you're ever going to put a lot of bait out and feed heavy, I really do feel that August is probably the best month for that, and a very close second would be September, especially the early part of that. So we're in the early part of September now, fishing a lake that's got a huge population of rudd that are massacring probably every tiny micro little food item that's normally would be left out there for the carp is being destroyed by the rudd. There's perch as well. There's also some tench. So I imagine, you know, there's quite a competition for food out there in the lake. And because of that, that is, for me, that's when boilies really come into their own. When you've got nuisance fish problems, late summer into autumn, the carp will definitely be trying to replenish the size that they lost through spawning. And yeah, if you're ever going to give them a bit of grub, late August, September, boilies, you know, heavy weight gaining food, you know, then now is the time. And that said, I'm absolutely filling it in with straight 18mm cell, which is a tactic you don't see me use that often. You know, I'm not someone that just says, oh yeah, you need to go to the shops and buy yourself 100 quid's worth of cell and chuck it in the lake. You know, you'll see on all the videos that I do, I use a whole host of different baits, but in this situation, on this occasion, I do feel that straight boilie and lots of it is a great tactic, and with the hinges over the top, again, a very good big fish tactic. Get yourself a tufty torch to keep them off the bites. The best laid plans and all that. Took my time, done the spomming this afternoon, went out there lovely, sat there, got the rigs ready, rods were already wrapped up, just waiting for the last of the evening wind to sort of die out. died out. Picked up the first rod, first cast, on the spot, lovely. Picked up the second rod, first cast, on the spot, lovely. While sinking the line on that one, it got 80% of the way back, something like that, no, 70% of the way back. And then I realised the line was running over the top of some sort of drifting weed. It was sort of attached to that, and I was sort of holding the rod high, trying to sort of unpick it without moving the lead. You know, it wasn't ideal, but I was trying to unpick it without moving the lead. And while I was distracted by that, the birds, the coots, they snuck in and picked up the rod, the first rod that I'd cast out, the other one. And then in my tantrum, I just cranked the second one in, and then cranked the first one in, and then had to start from scratch, which was far from ideal, if I'm honest. But long story short, is they've all gone back out there. They've all landed exactly where I wanted them to land, maybe with a few more casts than it could have potentially been done in, but at the same time, we're waiting for bite time, which is tomorrow morning, we think, unless they're going to start coming back for the bait. You never know. Like, there's been fish, they found the bait this morning, they might start coming back in the night. But yeah, I do think late tomorrow morning will be the best chance. But if we do start getting takes before that, that's a really, really good sign when you're fishing over that much bait. I put another 40 big spoms out tonight. Like I've already mentioned, there's 30 18mm boilies in each one, so that is a few kilos, you know, probably 5 kilos of boilies, like straight boilies. Obviously the rudd are going to have some, the coots are going to have some tomorrow, and hopefully the carp are going to have a few too. We've got tape. Well, a mega time of day to get a bite. Steam gently lifting from the lake's surface, and the left-hand rod, which is on the edges of the bait, has had a take. You know, very early compared to yesterday. The fish has just temporarily got stuck in some weed, I think, but I managed to sort of dislodge it. I was pulling pretty hard for quite a while without gaining much. In the end, I just slackened off a little bit, as in took the tension out of the line, but at the same time didn't let the line go completely slack. And then when I've re-tensioned into it, it's come free. Hang on, it's just going over the top of the other lines here. Right, well, pretty hairy battle that one. Not a big fish, like a small ghosty, but the line is absolutely shredded, and that'll be from potentially the bars, but I think more likely it's from the those zebra mussels in the weed. You know, that's why it's really important to use thick line. You know, breaking strain is one thing. You know, people or companies rate their line in different ways, but for me the true measure of any line is the thickness. The thicker the line, the smaller the percentage each one of these little cuts from the zebra mussels is, and leaves you with a higher percentage left. So, you know, I tend to, whenever I'm fishing anywhere where there's potential to be cut off, try and use as thick a line as possible. I've got the 20-pound long chuck on in 0.4, and it's definitely taken some serious abuse there. Here we are, it's getting better now. Clear off anything that's damaged before reattaching the rig. Caused quite a few metres of it.
Right, we're good there.
Yeah. Oh, it's to take.
Right, we've got the ghosty in the landing net. The right hand rod, which again is on the edges of the bait, has just gone off. It's coming in really easy and it's just locked up on me. I've tried slackening off a couple of times, tried pulling quite hard, and neither of those tactics has worked as of yet. Quite often when you pull really hard, you pull the weed down on top of the fish and it all sort of compacts. Makes it difficult for the fish to get free, so put the rod in the rest. The line's not completely slack, but there's not loads of tension running through the line so that it can sort of hopefully free itself from the weed. If it's still on, you know, it could have come off, it could be in a snag. I don't actually know exactly what's going on, but while I'm waiting for that, I'm just going to continue re-rigging this rod, because 2 bites over all that bait already is a great sign. And I'm going to beast this back out there if that hasn't gone in the time it takes me to get a bait on it. Right then, well the snagged fish is gone, the line is cut, probably on mussels again unfortunately. Oh yeah, a bit of chafe just went on the reel there, but I've recast the left hand rod, middle rod is still in position, and I just, yeah, that's all chafed up, major. Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-rig this, get that back out there. I'll tell you what, as well, we should probably just let that ghosty go, to be fair. Let's just let it out the net, because I'd rather have the net free in case I get a big one. Just let him go. Let him go! That's what we've got to do, right down like that. Come on, mate. There he goes. Shong! A little bit of technical information regarding the hooks that I've decided to use here on my Syndicate lake. There's something that some of you may not be aware of, and that is that the barbless wide gapes from Corda are on the same wire gauge as the wide gape X's. Now, so you have standard wide gapes, which are on a slightly thinner gauge, and then the X's and the barbless wide gape are on the next wire gauge up. Now, normally in a lot of my fishing, I would fish with the machine sharpened Kamakuras. Now, brilliant hooks, incredibly sharp, but when fishing somewhere as weedy as this lake, where you're going to be pulling quite hard, I do feel that sharpened hooks are more prone to hook pulls because they're so finely machined down. They can, under heavy pressure, sort of cut themselves out. So I've decided to use the barbless size 4 wide gapes. It's barbless rule here, and rather than using the Kamakuras, I'm using the standard ones out the pack, and I just gently brush the inner side of the point over the jag sharpening stone, just to take a tiny bit of coating off on the inner side of the point and just make it ultra fine without turning it into a blade. Let's take. Oh no. You definitely have to play them in here a little bit harder than the normal venue. There's a lot of weed about and quite a bit of woodwork. That's a good common, that is. It's a good common. Good common. Oh yeah, that's nice. Nice fish. That is a lovely looking fish. Lovely, lovely, like shape. It's a lovely shape. Obviously I've been playing it quite hard, so I want to be careful that I don't tear the hook now. Now that it's on a short line. That is a nice looking carp, that is. He's under my other two lines here, which is far from ideal. Now I've got weed jammed in the tip ring. That's a nice common, that is a really nice one. That's a nice fish. Oh, I took my eye off him for a split second. Good fish. Good fish.